Tonight, federal agents have breached a fortress of corruption.
4:32 a.m. San Diego, county coastline. The Pacific fog rolled thick over Blackwater. No moon, no lights, just the low hum of Coast Guard interceptor engines cutting through silence. 17 nautical miles offshore, beyond civilian radar and hidden under corporate shells, sat an island few knew existed. Serenity Cove. Registered to Amina Hassan Osman, 49, and Ibrahim Khalid Rashid, 51. Humanitarian icons. United Nations speakers. Award winners. But federal analysts had been watching for 11 months. 3,412 children tied to their foundation had vanished without a trace. No school records. No repatriation documents. Just silence. And buried inside seized servers from a related money laundering probe, investigators found encrypted manifests labeled Operation Innocence Trade. This wasn't charity. This was command-level trafficking disguised as salvation. At 4:47 a.m., more than 200 federal agents from the FBI, DEA, ICE, and Homeland Security investigations moved into position. Two MH-65 Dolphin helicopters hovered in blackout mode. Rotors sliced fog. Night vision illuminated the target. Special Agent Michael Torres whispered into his headset. All units, green light. Move now. Within seconds, the island perimeter was breached from 4 directions simultaneously. SWAT teams moved through coastal brush like shadows. DEA agents rappelled onto the mansion roof, a sprawling Mediterranean estate with marble columns, infinity pools, and a helipad large enough for private jets. This was no residence. It was a fortress. Security cameras covered every path. Motion sensors lined the gardens. Steel-reinforced doors protected lower levels. 3 armed contractors opened fire from an eastern guard tower. Flashbangs erupted in blinding bursts. SWAT operators returned controlled fire, pushing forward with ballistic shields. Within minutes, the contractors were on their knees, wrists zip-tied, faces pressed into wet stone. But the real operation was just beginning. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people who need to see it. Inside the mansion's main wing, agents kicked through a locked mahogany door. They entered what appeared to be a command center. Digital screens displayed live feeds from multiple locations. Cargo ports in Los Angeles, a logistics warehouse in Sacramento, a private airstrip in Nevada, and something else. A grid of small rooms numbered 1 through 60, each containing a narrow bed and a surveillance camera. One agent froze. Command, we've got live feeds. Multiple locations. Children visible in confinement. The voice on the other end was cold. Secure the servers. Lock it all down. As teams swept lower floors, they discovered something that made even hardened federal agents stop. A concealed stairwell leading 3 levels underground, reinforced with soundproof walls and biometric access panels. The door was blown open with a tactical breaching charge. Inside, the air was stale and cold. Dim LED strips illuminated a sterile corridor lined with steel doors. Behind each door was a small room, Spartan, clinical, numbered, and in those rooms were children, dozens of them, silent, confused, some crying softly, others staring blankly at walls. By 5:18 a.m., federal agents had secured 87 children inside the underground facility. Ages ranged from 6 to 16. None had identification. None knew where their families were. Many spoke languages the agents didn't immediately recognize. Somali, Arabic, Tigrinya, Swahili. Medical teams were called in immediately. Blankets distributed. Soft voices reassured them. You're safe now. You're safe. But the nightmare was far from over. In a locked storage vault adjacent to the holding rooms, agents discovered metal filing cabinets containing thousands of dossiers. Each file contained a photograph, a fabricated backstory, medical records, and something chilling, a price sheet. The children had been cataloged, evaluated, categorized by age, health, language ability, and appearance. At the bottom of each page was a transaction code linked to offshore bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, Cyprus, and Hong Kong. One agent, a father of 3, had to step outside. He couldn't finish reading. In a separate wing of the estate, inside a private office lined with leather-bound books and framed humanitarian awards, federal agents found Amina Hassan Osman and Ibrahim Khalid Rashid. They were not in the underground facility. They were not with the children. They were seated calmly at a conference table shredding documents. When agents burst through the door, Amina looked up with a composed smile. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding," she said smoothly. Her voice practiced and polished. But the shredder kept running, and the hard drives on the desk were still warm. Within minutes, both were in federal custody. No speeches, no cameras, no applause, just silence. Comment exposed if you want to see how deep this network really went. By 7:03 a.m., the island was under full federal lockdown. Forensic teams moved methodically through the estate, tagging evidence, photographing rooms, cataloging every piece of digital infrastructure. But the real revelation came when FBI cyber analysts cracked the encryption on the server seized from the underground command center. What they saw made the room go quiet. On the screen was a detailed network map, a digital web spanning continents. At the center of it all was a single operational codename, Project Mercy Corridor. It wasn't just one island. It wasn't just one foundation. It was a transnational infrastructure designed to move children across borders under the cover of humanitarian aid, refugee resettlement programs, and international adoption pipelines. The system operated through more than 40 shell companies and fake non-profit entities spread across 7 countries. Front organizations included Global Family Futures LLC, a private adoption consultancy in Nevada, Pacific Youth Outreach Network, a refugee services NGO in Washington, Bright Horizon Logistics, a shipping and cargo firm in Los Angeles, New Dawn Education Trust, a scholarship foundation in San Francisco. Each entity appeared legitimate on paper. They had tax filings. They had donor reports. They had glowing testimonials from satisfied sponsors. But every single one of them funneled children, money, and falsified documentation into the same concealed pipeline. Financial analysts traced the money flow backward. Over the past 8 years, Hope Horizon International had processed more than $680 million in donations, grants, and international aid funding. Yet only 11% of that money could be traced to actual program expenses. The rest routed through offshore accounts in the British Virgin Islands, Switzerland, and Dubai, laundered through real estate purchases, luxury vehicle leases, art acquisitions, and private equity funds that existed only on paper. One investigator described it bluntly: this wasn't charity work. It was a for-profit child export operation disguised as salvation. But the most horrifying discovery came when analysts cross-referenced flight manifests, cargo shipping logs, and travel authorizations linked to Hope Horizon's international programs. Between 2018 and 2026, the Foundation had coordinated 312 international humanitarian transport missions. On paper, these were youth exchange programs, refugee relocation flights, educational trips for displaced children. In reality, they were child trafficking routes operating under the protection of diplomatic immunity, humanitarian exemptions, and pre-cleared customs waivers. The routes were chillingly efficient. Children collected from refugee camps in East Africa and the Middle East, flown to staging facilities in California, Nevada, and Washington under the guise of temporary foster care, processed through fake adoption agencies or educational programs, transported via private yacht, cargo vessel, or chartered flight to wealthy clients in Asia, Europe, and the Gulf states. At every step of the way, the operation was protected by falsified legal documents, pre-approved customs clearances, and cooperative officials who asked no questions. One senior FBI investigator later said they didn't just exploit the system, they redesigned it. They built a second legal framework that existed in parallel to the real one. And it worked because everyone assumed that people who win awards can't be criminals. If this shocks you, hit like now. Inside one of the seized hard drives, agents found a single file labeled Phase 3 Expansion Proposal. It outlined plans to scale the network even further, partnering with additional NGOs, establishing processing hubs in Texas and Florida, embedding operatives inside immigration review boards to streamline child movement during border surges. The target, 10,000 children per year by 2028. The revenue projection, $2.4 billion annually. It wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't desperation. It was industrial-scale human commodification planned with the precision of a Fortune 500 corporation. And it had been operating in plain sight for nearly a decade. At 9:14 a.m., inside a federal operations center in downtown Los Angeles, a massive digital map filled the wall. Dozens of red markers pulsed across California, Nevada, Arizona, Washington, and Oregon. Each marker represented a location tied to Project Mercy Corridor. Safe houses, logistics hubs, storage facilities, private airstrips, offshore charter services. FBI Director Rebecca Callahan stood before the map, her expression hard and focused. Behind her, more than 1,200 federal agents from the FBI, DEA, ICE, DHS, ATF, and U.S. Marshal Service stood ready. This was no longer an investigation. This was Operation Shattered Trust, the largest coordinated federal raid in modern U.S. history. Director Callahan's voice cut through the room like a blade. Every location, every suspect, every piece of evidence. We move simultaneously. No warnings, no leaks, no second chances. At exactly 10 a.m. Pacific time, the raids began. Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach. Warehouse 17. SWAT teams breached a nondescript shipping facility registered to Bright Horizon Logistics. Inside, they found a fully operational child staging center, bunk beds, medical examination stations, clothing storage, and a scheduling board listing departure times for maritime cargo routes to Southeast Asia. Agents seized 42 children, ages 7 to 14. They had been told they were waiting for educational placement interviews. In reality, they were awaiting shipment. Also recovered, $3.2 million in cash, 16 falsified passports, and encrypted communication devices linked directly to contacts in Malaysia and Thailand. Type yes if you're ready to see what happened next. Sacramento, private estate, Emerald Hills. DEA agents raided a luxury compound owned by a shell entity tied to Hope Horizon International. The estate appeared empty until agents discovered a hidden basement accessed through a wine cellar. Inside, 63 children confined in small sleeping quarters. Some had been there for weeks. None had seen sunlight in days. Security footage showed repeated visits by well-dressed individuals who arrived in luxury vehicles, reviewed files, and left with selected children. This wasn't a shelter. It was a showroom. Nevada, private airstrip, Desert Valley Regional. ICE agents supported by U.S. Customs and Border Protection air units descended on a remote airstrip 40 miles outside Las Vegas. 2 private jets were being prepped for departure. Passenger manifests listed youth delegates bound for Dubai and Hong Kong. Agents stopped the planes before takeoff and recovered 29 children from the aircraft cabins. Pilots and crew were immediately detained. Inside the terminal office, agents found detailed client contracts, wire transfer receipts, and delivery confirmation logs spanning 3 years. San Francisco, New Dawn Education Trust Headquarters. FBI cyber teams stormed a sleek downtown office building that served as the public face of one of Hope Horizon's partner organizations. Employees were mid-meeting when agents entered. Computers seized, phones confiscated, filing cabinets emptied. Inside, investigators found donor solicitation materials featuring photographs of smiling children. Children who had never been enrolled in any program. The photos had been purchased from stock image sites or taken during staged events. The entire education trust was a front. It existed only to legitimize financial transfers and generate public credibility. Washington State, Coastal Marina, Port Townsend. Coast Guard vessels and FBI maritime units intercepted a luxury yacht preparing to depart under cover of early morning fog. The vessel, registered under a shell company in Panama, was loaded with 38 children described in shipping documentation as humanitarian program participants. The crew attempted to resist. Gunfire was exchanged. 2 crew members were wounded. The rest surrendered. Recovered from a yacht's cargo hold, 128 kilograms of methamphetamine and 2.1 million fentanyl pills packed alongside the children's luggage. The connection was undeniable. The trafficking network wasn't just moving children. It was moving narcotics on the same routes, using the same cover, protected by the same false paperwork. By 2:47 p.m., the coordinated operation had concluded. Final count across all raid locations, 450 children recovered, 87 suspects arrested, $14.6 million in cash seized, 340 kilograms of narcotics intercepted, 12 private vessels and aircraft impounded, more than 6,000 falsified documents confiscated. The underworld took more damage in 6 hours than it had in the last 6 years. But as investigators compiled the evidence, one question burned hotter than any other. How did this operate for so long without being stopped? The answer was about to become painfully clear. Share this so more people understand what's really happening. At 6:21 p.m., inside a secure FBI evidence processing facility, forensic analysts began reviewing the thousands of files, emails, and encrypted communications recovered during the raids. What they found was a betrayal that cut deeper than any crime. The network had not survived by hiding in the shadows. It had survived because it had help from the inside. Over the course of 3 years, at least 34 officials across federal, state, and local agencies have been compromised, coerced, or paid to facilitate the operation. The list was staggering. 7 immigration case officers who expedited refugee placement approvals without proper vetting. 5 Port Authority inspectors who waived cargo inspections during late-night departure windows. 9 Child Protective Services coordinators who falsified placement records and closed cases prematurely. 6 Customs and Border Protection agents who approved travel documents for children with incomplete legal guardianship. 4 county judges who signed off on emergency custody transfers without reviewing evidence. 3 state legislators who received campaign donations from Hope Horizon-linked PACs and advocacy groups. Each of them had been paid, some in cash, some in luxury gifts, some in political favors. But all of them had made the same calculation. It's easier to look away than to ask questions. Internal emails revealed a disturbing pattern. When junior officers raised red flags about suspicious travel authorizations or irregular placement patterns, they were told to prioritize humanitarian throughput and avoid unnecessary delays in vulnerable child services. One immigration officer who refused to approve a batch of questionable documents was reassigned within 2 weeks. His replacement approved the same documents without question. A port inspector who requested secondary screening for a suspicious cargo shipment was told the request was statistically insignificant and not aligned with operational priorities. The shipment was cleared. Inside Judge Layla Mahad's downtown Minneapolis office, agents discovered the full extent of judicial corruption. A battering ram smashed through the reinforced door at 5:18 a.m. The building shook. Family photos beside the American flag swayed. A reminder of an oath once sworn, now broken. Judge Mahad, 53, had been on the federal bench for 11 years. She had presided over hundreds of custody cases, immigration hearings, and child welfare proceedings. But federal prosecutors now had evidence showing she had been paid $1.7 million over 4 years to fast-track custody approvals, dismiss protective services investigations, and suppress evidence in cases tied to Hope Horizon International. The payments came in the form of consulting fees paid to a shell company registered under her sister's name. Bank records revealed midnight wire transfers. Ledgers showed recurring payments labeled as facility fees or security consulting. Emails between Judge Mahad and accomplices contained explicit instructions. Clear the transfer. No delay. Approve the application by Friday. Ensure inspection is waived. This wasn't paperwork. This was a system. If you believe justice matters, comment justice below. Federal investigators also uncovered the involvement of Dr. Marcus Fielding, 47, a licensed child psychologist who served on state adoption review boards in California and Nevada. Dr. Fielding had been responsible for conducting psychological evaluations of children entering foster care and adoption programs. His reports determined whether children were suitable for placement, whether they had experienced trauma, and whether they required additional services. But agents discovered that Dr. Fielding had falsified more than 320 evaluation reports over a 5-year period. Children who exhibited signs of severe distress, trauma, or behavioral issues were classified as healthy and ready for placement. Children who spoke limited English and showed signs of coercion were described as willing participants excited for new opportunities. In exchange, Dr. Fielding received $420,000 in payments routed through a consulting firm tied to Hope Horizon International. He also received all expenses paid international trips, luxury vehicle leases, and private school tuition payments for his 2 children. When confronted by federal agents, Dr. Fielding initially denied all allegations. But when shown email records in which he explicitly discussed altering reports to meet placement quotas, he went silent. His license was suspended within 48 hours. Criminal charges followed. The corruption extended into transportation logistics as well. Captain Raymond Osborne, 56, a veteran commercial pilot with more than 20 years of experience, had been hired by Hope Horizon International to coordinate international humanitarian flights. On paper, his role was to transport refugee children to safe resettlement locations in the United States. In reality, Captain Osborne had been piloting private charter flights that moved children from staging facilities in California to undisclosed locations in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Flight logs showed more than 80 unauthorized international trips over a 4-year period. Passengers listed as youth delegates or educational participants were in fact children with no legal documentation, no verified guardians, and no knowledge of where they were being taken. Captain Osborne received $2.3 million in payments from Hope Horizon shell companies. He also received real estate holdings in Arizona and Nevada purchased under his wife's name. When federal agents raided his home in Scottsdale, they found encrypted communication devices, falsified flight logs, and handwritten notes detailing pickup and drop-off coordinates for undisclosed locations. Captain Osborne was arrested without incident. His attorney released a statement claiming his client believed he was participating in legitimate humanitarian work. But the evidence told a different story. This wasn't ignorance. This was complicity. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The scope of institutional betrayal extended even further. Federal investigators identified Sarah Quinlan, 44, a senior case manager with California Child Protective Services. Quinlan had been responsible for overseeing the placement of more than 1,200 children over a 6-year period. Her role required her to conduct home visits, verify living conditions, and ensure the safety and well-being of children placed in foster or adoptive care. But agents discovered that Quinlan had never conducted a single home visit for any child placed through Hope Horizon affiliated programs. Instead, she signed off on placement approvals remotely, often within hours of receiving referral paperwork. When questioned by internal auditors in 2024, Quinlan claimed she was overworked and relied on reports submitted by partner organizations. But financial records told a different story. Between 2021 and 2026, Quinlan received $680,000 in payments from a consulting firm later identified as a Hope Horizon front. She also received luxury vacations, designer handbags, and jewelry purchases totaling more than $140,000. When federal agents executed a search warrant at her home, they found more than $200,000 in cash hidden inside vacuum-sealed bags in her garage. Quinlan was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit human trafficking, fraud, and child endangerment. Her attorney declined to comment. The betrayal wasn't limited to individual actors. Federal investigators also uncovered evidence of systemic coordination between Hope Horizon International and certain officials within U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Between 2019 and 2025, at least 6 IC field officers assigned to refugee processing centers in Texas, Arizona, and California had been paid to expedite asylum claims and travel authorizations for children identified by Hope Horizon as program participants. These officers received between $15,000 and $50,000 per case, depending on the complexity of the expedited approval. Payments were routed through third-party intermediaries and offshore accounts to avoid detection. The officers also received bonuses for meeting monthly quotas. One officer, Agent Victor Morales, 39, stationed at a processing center in El Paso, had approved more than 200 expedited asylum cases over a 3-year period. None of those cases underwent standard vetting procedures. None of the children had verifiable family connections in the United States. And within weeks of their arrival, all of them disappeared from federal tracking systems. Agent Morales was arrested during a coordinated sweep in late 2026. He initially claimed he was simply following orders to reduce processing backlogs. But when shown financial records linking him to offshore payments totaling $1.2 million, he invoked his right to remain silent. If you want justice to reach everyone involved, share this video now. The investigation also revealed the involvement of international facilitators. Among them was Hassan Yusuf Abdi, 52, a Somali-born businessman based in Nairobi, Kenya. Abdi operated a network of so-called orphanages and child welfare centers across East Africa. On paper, these facilities provided temporary shelter for displaced children fleeing conflict zones in Somalia, South Sudan, and Ethiopia. In reality, they served as collection points for Hope Horizon International's trafficking pipeline. Federal investigators obtained testimony from former employees who described a systematic process. Children were recruited from refugee camps, rural villages, and conflict zones under false promises of education, medical care, and family reunification. Once inside Abdi's facilities, they were photographed, medically examined, and assigned identification numbers. Their personal histories were fabricated. Their ages were altered to make them more marketable. And within weeks, they were transported to staging facilities in Kenya, Uganda, or Tanzania, where they awaited flights to the United States or other destination countries. Hassan Abdi received more than $8.3 million in payments from Hope Horizon International between 2018 and 2026. He also received real estate holdings in Nairobi, Dubai, and London. When Kenyan authorities raided one of his facilities in early 2026, they found more than 140 children living in overcrowded conditions with inadequate food, water, and medical care. Abdi fled the country before he could be arrested. Interpol issued a red notice for his apprehension. As of this writing, he remains at large. The network also included international legal facilitators who specialized in creating false documentation. Among them was Elena Volkov, 46, a Russian national based in Cyprus. Volkov operated a document forgery operation that produced fake birth certificates, passports, adoption decrees, and custody orders for clients willing to pay. Her services were used extensively by Hope Horizon International to legitimize the movement of children across international borders. Federal investigators estimate that Volkov produced more than 2,000 falsified documents over a 5-year period. Each document cost between $5,000 and $20,000, depending on the level of authenticity required. Volkov's operation was sophisticated. She employed former government officials, retired judges, and corrupt notaries to sign documents and affix official seals. She also maintained relationships with corrupt officials in multiple countries who would verify the authenticity of forged documents if questioned by border authorities. Volkov was arrested in Cyprus in late 2026 following a joint operation between U.S. federal agents, Interpol, and Cypriot police. She is currently awaiting extradition to the United States to face charges of conspiracy, fraud, and human trafficking. Her lawyer has indicated she intends to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. Comment your reaction below if this shocks you. The investigation also uncovered the financial architecture that made the entire operation possible. At the center of it all was a complex web of offshore accounts, shell companies, and cryptocurrency transactions designed to obscure the flow of money and evade law enforcement detection. Hope Horizon International maintained more than 60 bank accounts across 15 countries. Primary accounts were held in the Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Switzerland, and Singapore. Funds were transferred between accounts using a technique known as layering, in which money is moved through multiple jurisdictions in rapid succession to make it difficult to trace. The network also used cryptocurrency to facilitate payments. Between 2020 and 2026, more than $180 million in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Monero was transferred between Hope Horizon affiliated wallets and accounts controlled by facilitators, corrupt officials, and international partners. Blockchain analysts working with federal investigators were able to trace many of these transactions back to their source. But others remain unaccounted for, likely converted to cash or transferred to wallets controlled by individuals who have not yet been identified. The scale of the financial operation was staggering. Federal prosecutors estimate that Hope Horizon International generated more than $680 million in revenue over 8 years. Of that, only $74 million can be accounted for in legitimate program expenses. The remaining $606 million was siphoned off through fraud, money laundering, and payments to facilitators and corrupt officials. Amina Hassan Osman and Ibrahim Khalid Rashid personally benefited to the tune of at least $120 million. They owned luxury real estate in California, Nevada, Dubai, London, and the French Riviera. They drove Bentleys, Maseratis, and Rolls-Royces. They wore custom-tailored clothing and million-dollar jewelry. And they did it all while presenting themselves as selfless humanitarians dedicated to saving the world's most vulnerable children. Hit like if you believe justice is worth fighting for.